Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. It's a glorious day because we've got a full house. It's me, your host Chris, and Jamie and Jonesy.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Oh,
We fucking made it. No one's dead.
There you go. You swore in the first 30 seconds. I thought we discussed this, Jamie.
Actually, did we ever get an outcome from that experiment? Did we get demonetized in that video?
Okay, so just to fill some people in, what was it, like 2 episodes ago? Jamie woke up on he chose violence. Let's just put it that way. And the second word of the podcast was a swear word, which, as you do. But YouTube doesn't like you swearing in the first 30 seconds for whatever reason. We were not placed on limited ads, so we had full monetization. And while there was a noticeable drop-off in viewership from the previous handful of episodes, funnily enough, and probably down to views velocity, last week's episode was much worse than the week before. So I like to call it the Chris effect, But
yeah, I was going to say, like, we can attribute that not necessarily to the presence of swearing and just to our sort of basic and unworthy personalities.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no, come on. Like, it's too obvious now. When I wasn't here, the views were going like this. And the second I came back, the views fell off a cliff. I think there is one elephant in the room, and I am that elephant.
No, you see, I think what's happening, Jonesy, is that people are waiting for you to come back, and they tune in week on week. And it took so long for you to come back. They're like, fuck these guys. Chris and Jamie, we're not here for it. We're here for the Jones man.
Yeah. Definitely, I'd like to think that was true, but unfortunately not.
Do you want to give us a quick... sorry, go on, Jamie.
No, I was going to say the honest appraisal that I was going to give, I just think we actually had a couple of... I'm not going to say they were like killer thumbnails in the grand scheme of things, but just very user-friendly thumbnails. Like wading into the whole GTA 6 kind of thing. Yeah, yes, it was bullshit, but like literally 4 times as many people watched that episode as the one before it. So the power of Rockstar, I guess.
I wonder if we need to go like a lot more absurd clickbait. Maybe that's something for like our top tier patrons to kind of direct us on.
I think you're missing even lower hanging fruit than that. We just become a GTA 6 speculation podcast. All we do is spend 2 hours wondering where it's going to be set and how many protagonists there are going to be.
Can I tell you the fucking sickening thing is that would probably do us a lot better than what we're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like not for an audience perspective, but certainly from like an algorithmic and YouTube perspective. They'd be like, yeah.
There was a few shows ago that I wasn't here and I was watching the podcast on YouTube. And I noticed in the comments that obviously a new person had commented something like, keen to hear about the news topic or whatever the main topic was of that show. And then they commented again, obviously like a little while after, going, they still haven't spoken about it yet.
Yeah.
That's the guarantee.
Like, that's funny.
That's the guarantee, like alienating any new fans. We're just going to keep the ones we've got, hold them tight, smother them, and eventually they're going to squeeze out of our arms. And we're just going to be left with our dicks in our hands. And that's okay. Yeah. That's almost what we expected. So, yeah, there we go. Jonesy, do you want to give us like without too much detail, just a quick update on how you're feeling? Are you feeling good? Are your testicles full? Is the shit inside your body?
I am getting better. Let me put it that way. I'm still suffering some of the effects of the. I don't know if I can even say it. Maybe we'll get demonetized for me saying COVID, but I'm.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, to be fair. But no, I'm improving. I'm feeling better. I'm here again. I was here last week. I'm here this week. And for the previous 4 weeks, I was not feeling well enough to do the podcast. So unfortunately, I haven't felt. I probably could have done actually like the last week, but I haven't really felt up or like I wanted to play any video games. So I've not played any for the catch up. So that'll be very quick when we get to the catch up.
Nice. Maybe you could tell us how many times you masturbated. Okay, fellas, I have a bit of a question for you, a task, if you will, a brain thought. What are they called? Mind experiments.
Brain teaser?
Sure. Okay.
Thought starter.
Oh, I love it. Like, let's just get these content silos going, buddy. All right?
Content silo.
Right, let's consider the optics of our content silos first. Though,
yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll loop back around, all right?
Yeah,
and for everyone listening, I hope this podcast finds you well.
Yeah, if you just ping me a note when you've got any updates.
Motherfucker. All right, so here's the question. And are you ready? Because I heard this today, and it's a very interesting one, okay? who would win in a fight between you and your clone?
Oh, shit.
Okay. Now, to be a little bit more specific in this, you get cloned and then you get into the arena. Okay. It's not like you diverged at age 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they a baby or are they my age?
No, they're like full on, Stallone 90s era Arnold Schwarzenegger 6-day. It's a fucking facsimile of you then and there. All right.
I think I already know which direction I'm leaning.
Yeah.
I think the clone would win in my case. Because
why? Where's your? I need your rationale. Okay.
So my rationale is, I think fundamentally, when we're standing opposite in each other in the arena of battle, we are fundamentally identical. In many ways, we are exactly. The only thing that differentiates us is how we came to end up in that scenario, where I've lived my life up to this point and have been brought to the arena to fight my clone. The clone has been made to fight me. For that reason, I think the clone will be the one that's more conscious of its existence and the fact that it feels like it almost needs to fight for the right to survive and to become the new me, whereas I might already have the arrogance of presuming that I am already me. The clone might feel like he has to work harder for it. It reminds me,
but
there's that thing in...
Okay, go on.
Actually, I might not actually say it because it's spoilers. Can I spoil Soma? Is it enough?
Yeah, you can spoil Soma. Yeah, like, we spoiled it on All Time Gaming.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so it's already out there, but I won't go into the whole details because it gets into weird sort of almost philosophical stuff. But it's one of these situations where the character at one point has to clone themselves to get free of a certain situation, but only one of the versions of that clone will escape, so to speak, and you get left playing as the version that didn't escape. But it's like, well, hang on, if an exact identical version of you escaped, did you escape? And you're just sort of from the perspective of the thing that lost. It's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, this is where I'm going to throw the spanner in your rationale there. Okay, let's say you go into this device that clones you. Go into the closet, and Jamie, you got to come out of the closet, all right?
Okay.
But when you come out of the closet, 2 of you come out. Now, who's to say who's the clone and who's the original?
I think it's going to be pretty obvious.
Is it? Is it really?
Because what? Like, you walk in the closet, you're cloned, you come out. It's not going to have the 30 odd years of life's batterings that I've got. It's going to be.
It'll be a genetic like for like facsimile.
Yeah, but I've had 37 years of life beating the crap out of me. The clone is basically a brand new, like, squeaky clean version. It doesn't have my dodgy knee. It doesn't have my dodgy shoulder.
Because you know what? Like,
it doesn't have COVID. It's gonna come out like hopping around like a newborn lamb.
No, can I tell you the flaw in that, Jonesy, is in the closet with you is Henry Cavill. And he's going to paint your body like he does the Warhammer figurines that he's so fucking into. And he's going to make sure that like all the fucking liver spots and shit, they're all perfect, okay? So you won't know. There'll be no discernible difference between you and your clone. And you won't know which one is which. Who would win, buddy? Who would win? Clearly, the only answer is a fight to the death, and it's a double knockout.
Yeah. I genuinely think, though, that like if you just entertain the more combat oriented side of this debate, is it not just a thing of like the outcome would probably vary? If you had that fight 100 times, different people would win it different. It would just be like a luck of who landed a certain blow at a certain time in a certain way. And
you tell me, buddy. I guess we'll never find out, or maybe
it would be like
maybe we have found out already.
What's the game? The very thingy battle simulator. If you just
battle simulator,
if you clone the little people, if you just had one of each type, they fight each other. I think, it's going to be 50-50. It's like a coin toss.
Yeah. Plus, I think the thing we all have going for us, although, again, our clone would have this going for them as well, is that to get here, we did all have to win a very similar battle against a number of, could have been brothers in arms with similar genetics.
You were my brother.
It was more of a race than a fight. But yeah.
Yeah, fair. I just thought, that would be a good way to get into this apparently gaming podcast. Just get those cogs turning. Clear off the cobwebs. Clearly, Jonesy needs the mental exercise. I'm not saying anything against you, Jonesy, but you're being a little bit out of practice, okay? You got to get into
say whatever you want. I've got nothing.
Oh, God, it's so sad that it's funny.
I love how infirm Jonesy looks at the moment. Because it looks like that hoodie. I mean, we've seen it before, but it actually looks like, because it's kind of obscured by your microphone, it looks like a gown. And then the chair could be like a wheelchair. And it's just kind of like,
I feel like that at the moment, to be fair.
You're just looking a bit of a sorry sort. And hey, for anyone listening on podcast platform of your choice, I'm talking Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, you can head on over to YouTube and see the sorry state that Alex Jones is in. And while you're there, drop him a message in the comments below saying, don't worry, fella, you'll get there.
Send me some well wishes. Tell me that I'm going to get that. I will, despite what the doctors say, I will recover.
It's terminal.
And be fighting. You know what's funny about I said to my wife the other day, I said, I'm the best I've ever looked and the worst I've ever felt. Because because I lost someone in the car, I can't remember who it was, I think it was hooded dude maybe, said, Jonesy, you've lost a lot of weight. I had a bit of weight to lose, to be fair. But now I'm fighting weight. I'm looking pretty good, but feeling like crap. So
to be fair, you did evacuate maybe 25 kilograms of shit from your body. So
so much. Yeah, that was grim.
Oh my goodness.
You could have maybe made a little clone out of me from that.
Maybe. Ooh. And speaking of clones, in a weird way, in let's say a metaverse kind of way, you could catch our clones doing the exact same podcast, but it's not us. Just remember this. It's our clones doing the exact same podcast, available at paisleyradio.com, Thursdays, 10 p.m, internet radio. Listen to it live-ish almost, but in a clone way.
Just to confirm, though, those clones not made out of Jonesy's feces.
I mean, feces, no. Other bodily fluids,
they
need something to make the clone, Jamie. Okay,
exactly. It's got to all stick together somehow.
Gross. Yeah, that's how you know you're a clone. If you cut yourself, if you bleed, you're the original. If cum comes out, and it's just that's the clone.
Oh, imagine that! Imagine looking at your veins, and rather than being blue and green, they're just a silverish white, shimmering in the light.
Oh, and you know what kind of complicates things? If you pop a pimple.
Oh, wait, hang on. Where are we going?
What color is it? What color comes out? Sperm, buddy. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just imagining, scenes in movies when heroin addicts are shooting up and they put the needle in and they draw a little bit of blood first.
Oh yeah, mixes in.
I'm just imagining that the cum coming out and the shot of the cum and the heroin fucking mixing up in the fucking
Oh my god! All right, well, hey fellas, now that we've scared off pretty much everyone and lost another 25% of our viewership, let's talk about what we're going to be covering today, because there's been some really interesting developments on the Remedy side of things, particularly with Max Payne. We've also got some news about something to do with Tomb Raider and something else to do with potentially a new Monkey Island game. I say potentially, it's a new Monkey Island game. And we're going to talk about all of these, if you'll indulge me, after the comment of the week. Yeah?
Sounds good.
Enthusiasm. I fucking love it. Great, cool.
How was that?
Okay. Comment of the week this week, fellas, comes from the one, the only, the clone of Alex Brown. That's right. A friend of the show, a colleague, as it were. He is on the Just Interesting podcast. So I do highly recommend that you all go check out the Just Interesting podcast. And I believe, Jonesy, last week you mentioned something that has led on to this comment. I'll read out the comment now, okay? So he says, "We do indeed upload to Spotify, Jonesy." Come on, Jonesy, you should fucking known that.
I wasn't sure. I thought they did, but I wasn't 100%.
Yes, so if you want to listen to the Just Interesting podcast, it's available on YouTube, it's available on Spotify. I'd imagine it's available on iTunes and as many platforms as we are on. So go check them out. We love their fucking content. Absolutely great. They do have a Patreon if you want to go support them after you support us. Obviously, naturally, it's only fair.
Both.
Both. But Alex Brown does go on to say, "Love the chat, fellas. I'd personally be very sad to see E3 go. There's something about a live, in-person event that a digital showcase will never capture. The hilarious, embarrassing moments when things go wrong. You ever wonder what the bottom of an Avatar shoe looks like? Well, bam, there it is. Also, big question, how can Will slap?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did we make a "How can she slap" reference last week? I'm trying to think.
That was the code
we
word.
said that people.
Okay,
that was
good.
the code word.
I had
slap.
like a tinge of fear there for a second that we missed that gaping opportunity to bring back "How can she slap."
Like gaping. Yeah.
We did bring it back. How can Will slap?
So last week you guys obviously spoke about E3 kind of cancelling their 2022 presence to focus on 2023. I think I could speak for all of us to say that like we definitely wouldn't want to see a physical E3 go, as much as we said like it's pretty much doomed. Like whether it's E3 or something, like a big marquee physical event always going to be a fucking good time. And Alex Brown is right. You know those compilations of embarrassing moments and sweaty fat people waiting in line at the EA Play show.
Hang on. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
I may have been both of those things at the time, and I'm still both those things right now. But yeah,
hey,
okay.
You know what? It's the truth, buddy. Okay, I'm short. You're fat. Jonesy's dying. Like this is just how it is. You know,
It's life.
The way of the world.
That's life, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything you guys want to add to kind of like what A Brown is saying? That's his new name, A Brown. A Brow.
Abe Brown. I guess I feel the same way, right? The world needs to provide more content for Crobecat to make montages and compilations with. I think that's the bottom line here. Whether that's the Game Awards, whether that's E3, whether that's cringe compilations, like shit needs to go down in a live capacity with people who are not prepared to be going on stage and reading from an auto cue, go on stage and read from a queue. But also just because, like Jones and I were talking about last week, E3 is still kind of this weirdly special phenomenon where for 1 week in the middle of the summer, we just get to sort of forget everything else that's going on in the world and focus exclusively on video games. And I think Jonesy made some good points last week around how hard it can be to kind of keep tabs on everything. But then I'm also one of those weirdos who, like, I would make spreadsheets for my own personal use to keep tabs on what we were expecting to see where and whether things were announced. So not being able to engage in those sort of weirdly, I don't know, slightly problematic rituals, that's sad to me.
Why don't you publish your spreadsheets, Jamie, and we'll call them Jamie's Game Spunk.
Wow. Yeah. Wait, you mean ones I've made before or future ones that I make?
Like ongoing.
Oh, it's an ongoing, like it's a never-ending stream of spunk. Exactly. Spunk don't stop. Once you spunk, you can't stop.
Yeah, exactly. It's like spider webs, just kind of comes out and comes out and comes out and comes out, and you make clothing out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
New fashion label.
Silk Spunk. It's my new. That's my band name. It's me. It's me.
That
and
sounds
Bruno.
like a Bruno Mars song.
Yeah, I was going to say it's me and Bruno Mars. We're introducing our new band, Silk Spunk. Catch us winning every Grammy this year.
Jesus Christ.
Just us and Olivia Rodrigo taking over the world.
What do you fellas think about us hosting E3 one year?
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I feel like they need some big like headliners, and you can't get bigger than us, buddy. Like,
is that another fat joke?
No.
Oh, okay.
We could challenge what's his name with the boots?
Jeff.
Could wear fancy footwear. We could challenge Jeff's footwear.
Jeffrey Keeley. Yeah.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Jeff Keighley bring Alex Jones out on stage specifically just to have like a footwear showdown. See whose shoes dazzle more in the moonlight.
Oh yeah, Jonesy could go with his monkey shoes.
No, they have to be much more fancy than monkey shoes.
No, we'll take it to like we'll put diamantes on them.
Cowboy boot monkey shoes.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, snakeskin monkey shoes. There we go.
With metal heels.
Oh, I can love it. Spurs.
The only part of it I don't think I could actually do is that I'm specifically recalling the last couple of EA events where people like Greg Miller and WWE superstar Xavier Woods have been on hosting duties. The amount of like enthusiasm they have to show for products that aren't that exciting, especially during what have been some pretty like poor years for like don't get me wrong, hosting an event for EA sounds pretty cool, but when like all they're talking about is an Apex Legends update and another Sims 4 DLC pack, and like all, it's like I don't want to get excited for that. I can't pretend I care.
But this is what I'm trying to like explain to you. Okay, there's a reason that E3 has fallen off, and it's because of all of this fakeness. Okay, and we're going to bring a dose of reality. We're going to be like, here's another fucking Sims pack. You're going to buy it if you like Sims. If you don't like Sims, fuck off. Here's the trailer. Roll that shit, DJ. World
That's
exclusive.
too much reality for me.
I reckon that's what the industry's calling out for, quite frankly.
I mean, you can also make the argument that we already do that just on our podcast.
Yeah, but I just like to give... I'd like it to be an audience of like, you know, more than the triple digits would be nice.
Yeah. We could orchestrate a slap as well. That would be great for numbers.
Ooh, maybe what we do is like, it's like barrier of entry. If you want to show off your game at the Super E3 show, you like the developer, like the creative director or something, needs to come on stage, the game director, and get a slap from us.
Yeah, I was just imagining a world where, like, again, using the same names as before for the sake of ease, but like Greg Miller making a remark about the Game Awards viewing numbers and Jeff Keighley going on stage slapping him and then screaming, "Get the Game Awards name out your fucking mouth!" and like screaming at him.
I like it.
I love it. That's so good. Well, fellas, you know, if we did host a Super E3 show, I would imagine that we'd have at least a small live audience, because there are some people that are generous enough to give us money to make this podcast. They are obviously our patrons. They headed on over to patreon.com/SuperShow. And for as little as $2, you too could support the channel and help, you know, cultivate this dream of the Super E3 show. And fuck it, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it now. Once we do inevitably launch the Super E3 show, every single tier is going to get front row access to the show.
I love it.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to...
But if you slap any of us, if you come on stage and slap any of us, then you get sent to the back.
Oh, yeah. Unless you're the $600 pledge, then you can slap us. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put that in the thing. Slap us, $600.
I was also considering making a joke about whether or not that the front row would technically be a part of the splash zone, but then after some of the comments we were making earlier about bodily fluids, I'm not sure you want to be in our splash zone, really.
Oh, maybe they do. Maybe that's an additional tier.
There you go. How much would that be?
But I don't know.
1,000.
£69. I don't know.
It's not a lot for cum.
Hey, it's more than I'm getting paid to produce it at the moment. So, but also, like, I would imagine that I'd like to do it like Kanye Sunday Service style, you know, like a big fucking hill.
Marilyn Manson.
Well, probably not.
It's just Chris, Marilyn Manson, and the baby in like fucking ankle high water with mics that don't work. That's my show.
Fucking hell. Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, fuck it. If you want to see a Super E3 show, let us know. I'd love to just even like a fake mock-up of like what an E3 show this year would be. That could be quite fun. Maybe that could be like Patreon content if we ever like, if Jonesy doesn't die by then, and you know, if we can synchronize our watches and our clocks to kind of get together and record something. But anyway, talking about patrons, fellas, I got some names to call out because these guys help make the Super Show dream come true. And I'm of course talking about Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Bill Caesar, yes, Bill Caesar, Brimstone, Cole K, Helium Joker, I Snort Rock Salt, Jesper Cam Dahl Nielsen, Leo Merger, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic, Nathan Piers, Neil, #Daniel, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, and I mean, I do fucking love this name, The Ballless Beauty, The Gorgeous Gelding, the Yummy Eunuch, the one and only Mark Clancy. I fucking love that one. And then, of course, we are talking about the big boys. We're talking about Brett Z, a.k.a. Shellshock, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and The Uncaged. Everybody, thank you so much for keeping the stream alive. I mean, we've taken Jonesy out of his fucking deathbed to be here because that's how, like, that's what you have done. You are keeping Jonesy alive. You are his...
Just about.
You know, like, we're getting there. Like, it's borderline, okay? But it's helping. It's helping. Ah, fellas.
It's the only thing that has kept me going is the Patreons. It's knowing they're out there.
I could just imagine you, like, almost wasting away on your deathbed, going like, just one more week. The patrons need me.
It's felt like that at times, I'm not going to lie.
Fucking hell. All right. Well, this is the lovely time that I like to call catch-up time. So, AJ, what have you been doing? Nothing. Jamie!
Not that much more, to be honest. The only really thing I wanted to mention is that I have played WWE 2K22 for the first time, which, you know, I think I'm like maybe a couple of weeks behind the pace on, because obviously it was a slightly strange release schedule. It usually comes out at the end of the year, come out Q1 this year, and also this is the first time that the 2K series is back after skipping a year.
Right, and it's on like a different engine and...
Yeah, because you might remember the last one we played when we were still at ATG was really rather broken. Yeah, ropey. We played it on stream, I think, hoping to get as many glitches as possible. And I seem to remember, actually, we didn't get as many as we'd have desired. But it was one of those games where we played it on stream out of the sheer fascination of watching it break before our eyes. But it is back, and it is... I'm gonna go for the whole expression. I'm gonna say back and better than ever. I don't think that's an exaggeration here.
Nice. Yeah.
Look, again, which I'll say up front, which you'd hope for after they got to such a low point and took an entire year off to essentially fix things.
Do you remember like the whole issue that happened with the last iteration? Do you remember the kind of controversy around it?
Not the specific controversy. You'd have to remind me.
Wasn't it that they were like they were reusing assets from the previous year?
Right. That sounds like them, yeah.
Yeah. But it was the development team was kind of like booted out halfway through, and that's the reason why do you remember they were reusing those assets for
that
a reason?
Happened at some point where like Jaeger got kicked off and it became an entirely visual concepts production or something like that.
Yeah, and obviously, like, they didn't want to move the deadline because they're like, fuck it, it's like an annual release. Like, you need to release it. Yeah. And then they're just like, okay, just fucking cobbled it together. Obviously, it didn't work. Took a year off. Back better than ever, as you say. So,
yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it Logan? Or is Logan Paul?
Logan Paul is not in it, no. I think he might...
Machine Gun Kelly's in it.
Machine Gun Kelly's DLC, yeah. I don't know if he's out yet.
And he did the soundtrack for it, I believe.
He's got, so that's that game's quote unquote jukebox has, I think, 10, it's either 8 or 10 songs on it outside of like wrestlers' music.
Yeah.
And MGK is about half of that, I think.
Yeah, but I want to say like he was like producer for the soundtrack of.
Oh, he may well be. I mean, like it's weird because it's 10 tracks and like most of it I haven't heard of, but then there's one track by The Weeknd. There's like a classic Wu-Tang track in there. It's a very small but eclectic mix with a lot of Machine Gun Kelly. And this is again pop punk Machine Gun Kelly, not hip hop Machine Gun Kelly.
I think the pop punk suits him better anyway.
I mean, it suits his hair and his relationship with Megan Fox. It's all part of the package, right?
Yeah, fair enough. But I guess that kind of leads on to...
Pop punk Megan Fox.
Wow, well, there we go. I guess this kind of like... It's good timing, Jamie, because didn't WrestleMania occur over the weekend?
Yes, WrestleMania was at the weekend. And in fact, I have seen now most of WrestleMania. And for the Saturday show of WrestleMania, because they kind of do it over 2 nights now, I was actually at an event that 2K were putting on here in London, where we watched... Well, I was going to say, that's actually, ironically, the one thing we didn't do was watch any of WrestleMania because it started so late. I think the broadcast would have started about 1 and everyone had basically left by then. But we spent about 4 or 5 hours preparing to watch WrestleMania, and that meant taking part in a WWE 2K tournament, which was the first time I'd ever played the game, so I did not do particularly well. And also taking part in a WWE quiz where luckily we had a resident WWE expert on our team in the form of our friend Dave Horner, who carried us to a 3rd place finish, which is what got me the copy of the game, which is what I've been playing.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, it was also weird, and you guys, I'm sure, can sort of relate to this in some respect, but we obviously, because of just the way life has worked, and not just because of the switch from ATG to SuperShow, but also the switch from normal living to COVID living, and so on and so forth. But we don't really do game events anymore. You know, we don't really go to places where you see people the way we used to, and so it was weird going to an event and being like, "Oh, it's them." Like the best example I can give is I sat down in a booth, met the 2 guys who I knew already, who were already there.
Yeah.
Was kind of catching up with them, looked to my side, and to my right, 5 feet away, were 2 of the outside Xbox guys. And I was like, oh, weird, yeah. Like, some things never change. It's still the same crowds going to the same events. Like, yeah, COVID delayed thing for 2 years, but it's still the exact same fucking faces going to the exact same events.
Well, I guess, like, with PR companies and stuff, like, they would have had their, let's call it, quote-unquote, little black books.
Yeah,
and then COVID happens, they just close the book, and now COVID's not... Well, it is happening, but no one cares about it, apparently.
Well,
and then they just reopened the book on the same page.
They just scrubbed out ATG in their little black book.
Yeah. Which is what, when I rocked up, they're like, hang on, what are you doing here? You're not in the book anymore.
And then they got a broom and they tried to push you out the door, and you went, I'm here with Dave Horner.
Exactly that. No, nice. But hey, for as long as the bars and the food are free, then please keep me in the book. That's I care about that more than I care about the copies nowadays. So yeah, it was a fun night, and the game, like a little bit more on the game, like it's solid, is what I'd say. And I think for people who look to the WWE games as just something that sort of delivers a reliable experience reminiscent of the ones that they played back in the day on, the N64 and the PS1, and maybe even going further back, like it can satisfy those urges. It can scratch those itches now comfortably in a way that it maybe started to fail to a couple of years ago.
Right.
Like one thing that it feels like a shortcut they've made is there's a lot more animations that take direct control away from the player. It feels like they've almost tried to work around some of the jankiness by saying, actually, like if we made this less dynamic and more canned, then more things will look like they're happening the way they're intended. And so
how does that feel?
It feels a bit weird in terms of flow, where you're like, hang on a second, he just picked that guy up off the floor, did an Irish whip, waited for him to come back, and did some crazy move, and I pressed X. It's
almost like a glorified QuickTime event then.
Yes, but what it does, while it can feel weird in terms of flow, what it does is it completely simplifies the controls, which that game drastically needed. And it also means, again, that more shit that looks cool and that results in interesting looking, moves and events happening in matches happen without as much reliance on finicky user inputs and wonky animations where arms get bent behind backs and people's heads start dipping through each other, and Triple H's hair, which admittedly he doesn't really have anymore, but everything's flying everywhere, and you get the games they used to make.
You kind of lament the loss there, right?
In a weird way, like they will remain a weird relic of that broken WWE past.
Yeah.
I'll also give a quick shout out to a mode called My GM, which it's all quite simple at the moment, but it is what it sounds like, where basically you choose either choose either SmackDown, Raw, or NXT, and up against either the AI or another player, you basically compete to sign free agents to fill out your rosters, you choose the fights you put on, like, you set up events, you set up rivalries, you give people slots to do promos, you use cards that might, fix matches and so on and so forth. And you're trying to build your fan base and also your budget against a rival. That's quite fun.
So is it like football manager-esque? Yeah.
It's like a surface level football manager, where you're like balancing the stamina and the happiness of fucking Brock Lesnar, and he'll send you an email being like, I demand a title shot this week against Drew McIntyre, and you'll be like, okay, I have to give him that, or his morale will drop, and then like, what kind of a match is it going to be? If it's, and then, I can choose
does he
that.
not do it where he gets the microphone and there's like a little video thing where he's like, you better give me that title shot. Da, da, da.
No, that's the one thing about my GM is that unless you choose to watch the match simulations play out or play them yourself, it's all menu based, which is where Chris's Football Manager kind of comparisons come in. But yeah, there's
that sounds cool though. Like, maybe there's like something in that. Like, maybe there needs to be like a dedicated, like really fleshed out. There probably is one. To be fair, I'm not really know. But yeah, cool.
There's fun to be had with this game. Like, I'm not sure I should be saying this. I might get in trouble, but with like. Basically, I've got some friends who I play on the PlayStation with, and they're kind of like intrigued by the idea of this game, but no one's going to buy it, And one of the things they're intrigued by is there's been a weird trend in some corners of TikTok of people using the game to recreate sort of like real rivalries. So like one thing that went viral quite early on is that there's a certain wrestler whose like intro, their walkout, involves them being in like a fake tank. So someone created a version of Vladimir Putin and made that his intro. And there was another one where like after the Oscars, someone made a match where it was like they created a Will Smith and they created a Chris Rock and they made them fight. So I'm in the middle of setting up and orchestrating a Royal Rumble, which I will then screen share for these people. But I won't say the names, but you can probably imagine the crowd I'm catering to, and they're choosing who goes into it at the moment. And if you look at my list of recent searches on community creations, it is every vile name of every vile human on the planet. And I won't repeat some of them because they're probably on like some weird list where if you just say the names, but like, yeah, if I don't get banned by 2K by the end of the week, then it'll be a miracle.
Wow, okay.
Sounds good.
Well, hey, you're not creating them, you're just downloading them, right?
Well, yeah, but there are problems where, like, hey, turns out no one in the whole of the world has made a version of Joseph Fritzl yet in WWE 2K, so I'm going to have to be that guy. I have to be that guy.
You don't have to be that guy.
Chris, I have to be that guy. I have to download pictures of him off Google Images. I'm sure there are some great mugshots out there that are pretty nice and straight on. Download those, put them in the game. Bob's your uncle. I don't know what his...
Well, I'm not surprised, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I wonder if there's, like, a way, like... So you know how the Hornswoggle, the small guy, used to come out from under the ring. I wonder if there's a way to. He was like a I don't know what
Paul Bearer.
No. Like he was a vertically challenged fella, little Irish.
Sorry, a what?
I don't know what you're meant to call them anymore. Is either midget or a dwarf? Like he's one of them. He's small. He's small.
All right. Okay.
He used to come out from under the ring, like as like a thing, like he was hiding under the ring because he's a midget. And I was wondering if there's a way to get
so wrong.
They did it with Wee Man on the weekend. There was a fight with the Jackass crew, and Wee Man came out from under the ring.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
I love the idea that only a small can fit under the ring.
I mean, you got to remember that Vince McMahon is still in the creative mix somewhere, and clearly he just loves the idea that people below a certain height can hide under the ring. Yes, but I was going to do that for Fritzl to kind of like represent like him coming out from the cellar kind of thing.
Nice. You're taking it to the next level. I like it. Very good.
I'm hydrobotting this shit.
Wow.
Anyway, there you go. That's me.
That's you. All right, and AJ, like I was joking. Obviously, you've said you haven't had time to play any games. You did a bit of a catch up last week where you said you were playing some mobile games, but anything?
Yeah, nothing else really.
TV shows. Scratched your ass in a very erotic manner. Anything, buddy. Anything, really.
I tell you what I did watch. People were kicking off because Louis C.K. won a Grammy.
Yes,
for Best Album. And so I thought, I didn't even know he was doing comedy anymore. So I watched his most recent special.
Dude, he did a show in Ukraine, like when shit was kicking off.
Did he?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, weird.
Wow.
But so yeah, I watched his most recent special, which wasn't the one I think he won the Grammy for. I think it was the one after that,
right?
Called Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah, which it's weird. It's weird. There's a weird thing where someone's done stuff like what Louis C.K. did, and has then because it's like 5 years ago now, and has then returned. And there's a weird thing where the crowd are obviously super diehard fans.
Yeah,
and anything he says or does, because he occasionally makes little jokes about how one of them was like how everyone's been living these last 2 years with COVID is kind of how he was living for the last 5 years because he was hiding from everyone and stuff like that. And then people like go crazy, and it was funny. It was funny. It was a funny special. It is weird though, man. When people have done weird shit like that, bad stuff, and then they kind of say sorry for it, and they come back, and you're like, can I laugh at this? Like, is this funny? I don't know. But
it's like
he's a.
It's like when you're out in the club, and R. Kelly's remix to Ignition comes on.
Banger, but can you dance to it? That's the question.
I don't know anymore. But then
Michael Jackson. What do you do if Michael Jackson drops on the radio?
Hide your children.
Lost Prophets again. Like every time they come on in the club, I'm like, should I be headbanging?
There is a thing though. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say this.
Oh, Jonesy, we're gonna get cancelled anyway. Like, let's just fucking go down the rabbit hole.
No, don't bring up Lost Prophets again. I'm already regretting saying that.
R. Kelly and Michael Jackson all have something in common, right? Which is kids were involved, which makes it worse.
Yes,
much
indeed.
worse. Louis C.K. did bad stuff, but at least I don't know. At least it wasn't kids. It doesn't make it feel quite as. I don't think you can recover. I don't think you recover from the kid. You can't come back and do a special. If someone catches you doing that, you can't ever recover.
Now I just wish that Jonesy was in the room where they were coming up with a name for that special, because at least it wasn't kids is so much better than sorry.
To be fair, at least it wasn't kids. It's probably a better name for it.
What did he do? He just wanked off in front of people. He would just jerk while they watched.
But it was weird in that it was often people that were like opening for him or working for him, and he would say, can I jerk off in front of you? And they would be like, okay, but obviously what can they say in that situation? If they no, you Grimo.
But the point is that they never should have been put in that situation, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They can't say no, right? There's no way that, because what do you do? He's massive.
But I also think
super powerful comedian. Like they'd be worried that they never work again and stuff. So it was messed up, man. Obviously, it should never have happened.
It's problematic, like on all fronts, and especially with like artists, like.
But at least it wasn't kids.
Oh my god! All right, I'm moving on. I'm going to tell you guys what I've been doing. Playing games. Okay. On that level. Okay. So right, obviously I was. Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't on the podcast last week. I do apologize. Life finds a way, as a wise man once said. But I've been really busy. I've changed jobs. Shit's been going down, and I've just had to kind of like take stock and focus on adulting, not adultering, adulting. And
very important,
very, very good distinction.
Yeah.
Good distinction there. So just kind of like, being serious about shit, which is, quite unlike me, as I'm sure you can tell. So the only things that I've got two things that I can talk about, which is something that I could have talked about last week if I was on the podcast, which was, would I have? Maybe. I obviously played some more Elden Ring, Chris's Elden Ring hour coming up. It was cool because in that stream, twitch.tv/HotPanic, for anyone who wants to know. I was going to go up against Godric the Grafted, which is the next main boss after Margaret the Foul Omen. Now, with Margaret the Foul Omen, it was like, oh, so few people that own Elden Ring have beaten him, this, that, the other. It's like, okay, cool. I was bracing myself for a really long fight. Beat him in 3 tries, okay?
Nice.
And then had like a cool chill time with it. The last time I was playing Elden Ring on stream, and I went up after Godric the Grafted, I beat him in one go. I couldn't fucking believe it.
It's pretty nuts.
I think I remember you saying, I think I was actually watching the stream. I think I checked it out for I don't think I was on there for too long, and I think you mentioned the fact that you'd beat him in one go, which is, that's because obviously sometimes it's tens of goes, and to do it in one, those...
but I think that's testament to how the game kind of, having a Souls game in an open world setting kind of like potentially in some ways blast the barn doors wide open, in that you can just grind and you can power up and become over leveled and then go.
Were you over leveled on paper?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, but then there's other things that even if you're not over leveled, like getting a summon there to kind of like take flak away from you, and you chipping away at the health while they're like distracted.
Right.
Like that's it's like the unofficial easy mode, I guess. I'm not above it because it's a hard fucking game. And still a Souls game that you beat the boss, you go out into the open world feeling a little bit reckless, a little bit careless, and you get your ass handed to you over and over again. And it's just like random, like normal enemies on the field. It's like, okay, fuck me. But yeah, still fucking loving Elden Ring. Haven't had much time to play it or stream or play anything else because life got in the way, and being an adult is something that needs to be done sometimes. But what I did manage to do was watch The Batman.
Nice.
Which, yes, all like 5 hours of it. But yeah, I can't remember, Jamie. Like, I did listen to last week's podcast that you guys recorded, but kind of like while I was doing other stuff. So kind of in one ear and half of it out the other ear. Did you mention anything about your thoughts on Batman?
Not about my thoughts. I mentioned it. Ironically, I think it came up because I don't remember what we were discussing, but we were discussing something that made me bring up the fact that the Riddler leaves ciphers that need to be figured out by them. So I think because I mentioned that, it obviously made it clear that I'd seen it. And then someone asked on our Discord, "Are we planning any sort of review kind of like content around it?" Which the door's still open because again, I don't even think I said whether or not I think it's good. Big mystery. What's it? But yeah,
riddle me this, Batman.
But yeah, I'm happy to go into it as much or as little now as you see fit. Really.
Well, I guess the question is, AJ, did you see it? No,
I haven't seen it yet.
He's been pooing.
On an IV drip, and poor baby.
I'm interested in the interesting thing about Batman. The Batman to me is I genuinely haven't seen a thing for as long where I'm thinking mainly of Twitter where it's so divisive. I've seen people say it's really good and people say it's awful, and I'm like, I'm so intrigued now to know what you guys think and to know what I think as well.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'd like to do like a spoiler cast on it.
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
I feel like I have some thoughts. It would be good to talk about.
I mean, we can say now, like, yes, I think a spoiler cast would be of some value, and I also have some thoughts that are, probably a little bit too sort of like deep and spoilery in nature to go into now. But I think it's good. I think it's a good movie.
You think it's good?
And I think it's a Batman film and a Batman, well, perhaps more to the point, a take on Batman that's far more attuned to my tastes than I'd say just about any major motion picture version of Batman ever.
Okay.
I am in the camp of people, and I know this is not a particularly popular take, who is, I think, cools even further on Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy with each passing year that goes by. I largely think that those are scruffy, weird action films edited more like montages than movies that more often than not are or at least in one particular case, are obviously saved by very impressive performances from individuals, but that are rather otherwise I find them distracting to watch and hard to go back to.
Interesting. Yeah,
and
really interesting.
Batman's. Yeah. It's funny though because you say it because Batman in general, I think the films are always of their time.
Yes.
And you see them when they come out, and you go like, "Yeah, this is a good Batman movie," and then you see it years later, and you're like, "Oh, that was awful." Like that was really, really bad. And it's funny how far away you get from when they initially came out. They do seem to go more and more down that line of going, "Oh no, when it came out, I thought it was amazing, but now I look back at it, I'm like, it's very comic book and it's not very good." And it's interesting how far.
All except for Batman and Robin, right?
Well, yeah.
I think that was like when it came out, it was like, nah.
I think it's also because the goalposts move all the time, and even if you look at sort of the meme or one of the memes that the Batman has generated, that idea of brace yourself, it's another dark and gritty Batman. The words dark and gritty don't mean half of what they did when Batman Begins came out. And like again, like I know that like we all like to share that that meme with Dr. Manhattan, sitting on the planet being like, it's another however many years has passed and there's another, but Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were dark and gritty at the same time as series like Twilight and Harry Potter were being referred to as dark and gritty based on the directions they started to go into in the latter stages of those series. I'm not saying this is like a particularly dark or fucking malevolent film in some weird way, but both in terms of its tone and its terms of its feel and its inspirations, you know, it kind of, for me, it washes away the significance of that meme, because like those films from the early noughties or the mid noughties don't feel anything like this.
Yeah. Seeing as you kind of like given your top level thing, I'll give mine. I really enjoyed it. There were some things I was like, oh wow, okay, you went there. Okay, interesting.
We'll have to,
yeah. I really enjoyed it. I did think it was too long. You know, like it's all fine and well saying like you enjoy a certain take on a character, etc. But like, I don't know. It's such an easy thing to fall into a trap of like, let's just go make it longer. Like, I don't really buy the excuse of saying like, no, that film is as long as it needed to be, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you could have fucking trimmed out 20 minutes of that film.
Right. That's 20 minutes. That's not bad though. Like some films, it's like you could trim out an hour and a half. So
yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, let me put it this way. Like, there were points of that film where you're like, this is ended, and it carries on, and you're like, okay, yeah, sure, it's carrying on.
Right.
But it's like, and now it's ended. Oh no, it's carrying on. But story-wise and thematically, and kind of like keeping you engaged, it was never a case of like, I'm bored, right? It never kind of like, it didn't overstay its welcome, but there were parts where it's like, this could move along, you know? But I loved that. I thought the cinematography in particular was fucking gorgeously distinct. But the question, I guess, Jonesy, to you is, do you think you can, you know, wheel your wheelchair to a cinema anytime soon to go watch the film so we could do a spoiler cast, all three of us? Or should Jamie and I just kind of plan to do one on our own? Kind of keep it relatively fresh, you know?
I think I could get it done in 2 weeks. I don't think I could get it done in one.
That's fair.
I've just remembered something that I feel like
I remembered something.
I need to bring it up, and it will sound like I'm bringing it up to kind of like shame Jonesy into watching the Batman sooner. But actually, I'm just bringing it up because I think it's something that Jonesy should absolutely talk to the folks at home about.
I thought of it as well, and as soon as you guys started talking about the Batman, I was like, oh damn, I did do something.
Yeah, you did do something. And like, it's more relevant than ours.
Yes, it is.
Yes, there you go, Jonesy. So it's not like you haven't done anything. There we go. Let's hear your catch up.
Oh, okay. So I on Friday, the day it came out, actually, I think it was the 1st of April, I went to the cinema and watched Sonic 2.
Yeah,
I forgot about. But the reason I say that I'll be out of I need a couple of weeks for the Batman is because I went to watch Sonic 2 with my two kids because they love Sonic. They like the first one, they like the game, they like all of that stuff. So yeah, we went to see Sonic 2, and it was fine. It's very sequely.
Yeah. Must be big, must be bigger, must be better, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And it introduces Knuckles and Tails, which obviously weren't in the first film. Robotnik becomes more Robotnik-y in this. Like in the first film, he's very much of a character, you know, like not Secret Service. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like he's some kind of like government agent in the first one who kind of gets made more and more Robotnik, and then by the end of the film, he's almost Robotnik. But then this one, he solidly is Robotnik.
Yeah,
and yeah, he powers up with Knuckles, who come to fight Sonic and to get the...
Was Knuckles cool? Because I love Knuckles as a character. Was Knuckles cool? Oh, fucking hell. Here we go.
No, he was fine. I'm trying to think, was he cool? Like, I didn't jump out as being really cool.
Also, like, again, based on what I've seen in trailers, I feel like you're not going to get them... It makes sense the way to introduce him, but you're not going to get the most out of Knuckles while he's Robotnik's kind of secret weapon kind of sidekick thing. Like, when Knuckles is a part of the crew and can banter with Sonic and Tails, which will inevitably be the case in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in 2 years' time, maybe that's when he, comes into his own.
I think you're absolutely right, because you get Tails in this one, who is like with Sonic, but you don't even get... Maybe they could have done more with Sonic and Tails in this. Oh, no, maybe not. It was fine. But then the Knuckles thing, because he's with Robotnik, you don't really get that side of Knuckles. And anyone who's into like Sonic in general, you know that there's like the whole team. You've got like Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, Amy, the other one.
Big the Cat.
Big the Cat. I knew fucking Jamie was going to talk about Big the Cat.
Big the Cat.
And
This is such a dumb name.
But they all have like dynamics and they work together in a certain way. But because Knuckles is with Robotnik for most of this, you don't really get that. You do at the very end. They try and like roll a bit of that flavor into it, and you get an idea of, like you said, the third one is going to be more of that them as a little team. And they even.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go. No,
I was going to say, like, you can definitely going to get more of an idea of them as a team that are, working together. And there is an after the credits little scene.
That's what I was going to ask. So do they tease who's next in this?
Do.
Okay,
they do.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it?
Of course you have. You spoil it for yourself every time.
Well, because I'm not going to go watch the movie, but I am still kind of like intrigued by like what it is.
Well, I mean, I got to be careful here not to venture into spoilers, but I think we kind of clocked onto something there when we were describing quote unquote the good guys. And once you've said the names of Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, it's kind of like ... and it's like Amy ? Big the Cat. Like the good guys team isn't that well fleshed out in a way that in terms of like household names. But there are other household names out there that aren't necessarily good guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, household in inverted commas. You have to be a pretty fucked up household. The character I'm thinking of is it comes up at dinner tables, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you do see it, stay after the credits, and if you're going to go ruin it for yourself like Chris because you're not going to watch it, then go for it. But I will not spoil it here. But yeah, Jamie, no, you're right. There is a few like.
Does he kiss a human woman?
No.
Does he turn into a werehog?
No.
Does anyone wield an actual gun, like a human gun? But is not a human themselves.
No. No, they don't. There's anything where people have guns, it's tasers.
Oh wow, okay.
Because it's a kids' film.
It's a kids' film. So you thought it was like fine. I'm guessing your kids absolutely went berserk.
Yeah, they loved it. I don't think they liked it as much as the first one. But then the first film is always easy because the first film is always an origin story, and origin stories are cool, and you get to do so much in an origin story that I think people just like. They like that reveal process, and they like the person becoming the character you expect. It eats up half the film, and then you've only got half the film to worry about content. Whereas with a sequel, you have to come up with a completely new thing, and I think it can be very tricky. I don't think they did a bad job with this. It is, it's like a weekend afternoon after a big meal kind of movie. I think on the TV, it's one of those. It's not like necessarily
fall asleep on the couch. Which is what I did in the cinema when I watched the first Sonic film. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's what it is, which is fine. Which is fine. I didn't expect anything more of it. It was very much a
not every film needs to be a fucking blockbuster. Although this is kind of like a blockbuster, right? Because
it will make a fortune, I'm sure, because it's perfectly fine, serviceable Sonic film, and it's a sequel and it works. So why not?
I think it's already started okay in international markets. I don't think it's had its opening weekend in the US yet. That's probably this weekend coming.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty big for it. All right, nice.
It wanted to steer clear of Morbius because that's just a box office wrecking ball, and no, you'd have to be insane to release the same weekend as a Morbius.
Oh, well, it's a wrecking ball.
I love that. I love the whole Morbius thing. Watching the trailers for Morbius and knowing how terrible that film was going to.
But don't you kind of feel bad for Jared Leto though? Like
no,
he's Joker rubbish. And Morbius.
No, he's crap. Like he's crapping. He's a what do you call it? He is a secondary character at best. Like he's not a star, and I've seen him in real life. He's not a star at all, and I find it hilarious that anytime anyone puts him into something as like a main or even like the main villain, like with Joker, I'm like, no, you've totally miscast.
Do you want to know his best role?
Go on.
I can think of.
All right, well, let me switch around. What is your guys' favorite Jared Leto role?
But that's difficult because is it my favorite film that he happens to be in, or is it
the favorite character that he's played?
I can tell you the two that come to mind, or the one that's actually like he has to do something and he's not just set dressing as much as he is a character. Is Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Which I don't know. That was like when I was sort of like going through my teenage years and started to watch like heavier films, and that was one that I thought was kind of like cool and watched a lot. This other film was much the same, although again he's in it just to kind of look good and be beaten to a pulp, and that's Fight Club.
Fight Club. Wow. Okay.
I will say I haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club, which I think is what he won the Oscar for, right?
Did he win an Oscar for it?
Yeah, that's the weird thing about Jared Leto is like you go back to before the whole Joker fiasco. Jared Leto was like an Oscar-winning actor who people were like, this guy's got something, and then all the Gucci film and a Joker film later, and he's like, oh, this guy's a fucking clown.
Literally,
yeah.
It changed overnight.
Yeah. What about you, Jonesy? You got any standout roles? Jared Leto roles?
No.
Or maybe you're a 30 Seconds to Mars fan.
Literally, the only roles I can think of him in, he's been bad, or he's been completely forgettable, like Fight Club or Requiem for a Dream, like totally forgettable.
Yeah. What about, fellas, Lord of War?
Oh, with Nicolas Cage.
Fucking amazing movie, and he was the brother who had a drug problem.
That was a good movie, but I don't really remember him.
He was good in it. Yeah, he was good in it.
Okay.
But then again, he wasn't like, it's like you were saying, Jonesy, he wasn't even like a secondary character. He was like tertiary character, some shit like that. Like, yeah.
It's so weird when they just decide someone's going to be a megastar. They did it with, is it Armie Hammer?
But then it turned out he was a cannibal.
So.
But the Armie Hammer, because I watched a YouTube video, which is why it was like, why do they keep trying to make Armie Hammer a star? It was like because and it was before the cannibal stuff. It was like it's because it was like a certain prejudice in Hollywood or whatever, and they're like, he will be a star, and they just kept forcing it, even though he was rubbish. And I don't even think he's that bad. I can't think.
I think he's all right. And you know what? He was really fucking good in Call Me by Your Name, and he was really fucking good in Man from Uncle.
Ranger, the Man from Uncle.
He was good in Man from Uncle.
No, he's fine, but I saw a video, but someone was saying like, why do they keep trying to force this idiot on us? And then he became a cannibal
because he's like a 7-foot straight white male.
That's basically it. Like,
will be a star.
He's one of those things where if you can make him a household name, then he was tailor made to become like a Superman or something like that, and make billions of dollars. And then he went mental.
He's also called Armie Hammer.
Yeah,
it's a great name.
That's mad.
Do you know the weird story about like his father or something like that, or someone else's family? No. So his dad is called Armand, which means his name is Armand Hammer, which sounds like the company Arm and Hammer.
Arm and Hammer.
And he owns Arm and Hammer, but he didn't found the company. So a man called Arm and Hammer came to acquire and become like CEO of the company Arm and Hammer, and his son is Armie Hammer.
That's
How
cool.
fucking weird is that?
I like shit like that.
This is completely off topic, but
really? This is completely off topic.
It's a weird name thing, so I'm going to reference it. With the whole Ukraine situation, you kept hearing about the American like foreign minister or something. I can't remember what his role was, but his name is like I don't know his first name. It's like Alfred Blinken, but they always call him
A Blinken.
A Blinken. And I'm like, did his parents do that on purpose
That's
so that
great.
people hear his name and go Abe Lincoln, and they're like, well, it's like Abraham Lincoln, so therefore he must be in politics. He's going to be successful.
I like it. I'm waiting for the day that Armie Hammer like tries to come back into the mainstream. He's gonna have to change his name, and I do have a suggestion.
Okay,
Dick Sledge.
Dick Sledge. I mean, it's a great but actually Richard Sledge or just full on Dick.
Well, because like Army is maybe like I don't know. Is it really Army or is it like a what's the fucking term? Like a nickname or like a version.
Right, I see.
Right.
Is he like Armiondo or some shit like that?
Armando.
Yeah, I don't know.
Armando Hammer.
Yeah, I reckon you combine that name change with a comedy special called Sorry, and he's right back in the mainstream in no time.
Not sorry. At least it wasn't kids.
At least it that's also kids. True. Also true.
At least it wasn't kids.
Yeah.
Wow. But then again,
Michael Jackson
if it's
can't
not
name
kids,
an
it's not
album.
baby back ribs, right? So I don't know what he's going to be munching on.
Chili's.
Chilies. All right, fellas, how about we get into some like the actual point of what we do on this podcast is relay some gaming news. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
I kind of think I'm starting to understand why we're not growing. But hey, we'll keep doing it until we're down to like, I don't know, just Peaswad, I guess. Love your peas.
You're here for the long haul, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, we're not going to let you go, buddy. All right. So fellas, some great news that I was personally excited about. And I know, Jamie, you were maybe a little bit like less hot on it. And Jonesy, we didn't actually hear your kind of opinion on it. So this will be good. Remedy is remaking Max Payne 1 and 2 for current gen systems.
Hell yeah.
Which is fucking cool to me because I'm a big fan of Max Payne 1 and 2.
Remaking is the operative word there. Not
remaster, not like, here's some HD textures. No, fucking making. And what's really nice about it is apparently the budget is equal to any of Remedy's AAA titles that they've released in the past. So that there's a lot of money going into this. It's not a cash grab, I think, is what they're trying to kind of like relay here. It's being funded by Rockstar because obviously Rockstar kind of like own the IP now, I guess. And the other thing is that both games will be using Remedy's Northlight game engine, which was used in Quantum Break and Control. And those are some good looking fucking games, fellas.
Yes,
they're great. It's a great engine for Max Payne as well.
Yeah.
You can just think if you think back to playing Quantum Break, think back to playing
Control.
Control.
Yeah,
it just works in my head. It's like that's spot on.
It's physics, it's particles. It was basically everything apart from the slow motion, which comes part and parcel with Max Payne. So you mix it all together and you've got something pretty sexy on your hands.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's going to be really fucking good. Well, I mean, you don't know. It could be a trash fire, but you hope it's going to be good.
Sure.
But yeah, so just to remind people, the first two games in the Max Payne series came out in 2001 and 2003, respectively. That's kind of mad. Like 20 years?
20 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was 8 and 10.
Shut the front door. You
I played both of those games, both to completion, and absolutely loved them.
Don't say to completion. Oh,
to completion.
At least it wasn't kids.
But one thing that I question about the remakes is I don't want them to bring back that cutscene style.
Oh, yeah, like the comic strips.
The comic strip.
Yeah.
I think that was like a cost-cutting thing, and I hope they don't do it. Or, there's opportunity there, right? To kind of like really fucking ramp shit up. Especially if you think of like the fidelity of the in-game cutscenes in Control. Like, they were pretty funky. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to do the cost cuttings thing now. Max Payne's a massive IP.
Yeah, but they might be like, we're trying to be original to the source material, and
Yeah, maybe. I hope not. But but then that's just me. Like, yeah, I'm sure more people will probably be like, no, we like that, we want it, don't change it. And it's just my little pet peeve that I'd like to see
because
like a better take.
I think also like what went hand in hand with those comic strips was the kind of the very pulpy, on the nose writing and that sort of like very unique delivery that is it James McCaffrey who was Max Payne?
Yes. Yes.
His sort of very unique delivery through all three games in the end, which kind of like, again, that for me is also synonymous, is just hearing that voice and some of those, don't get me wrong, some of those lines which are infamous for the wrong reasons as much as the right ones, but yeah. Because that was also what Max Payne 3 was. Like Max Payne 3, for as much as I love it, and we'll talk about what I think about it I think in a sec, but like, if there were criticisms of that game, it was almost like a walking cutscene simulator where like every 10 seconds Max Payne would just start whispering into your ear, and it's like, okay, look, I know it. You've got like a very noirish take on what's going on, and you've got a weird metaphor to make about how you like fucking hookers, but let's get on with the story.
Yeah. I just like, I hear that like a remake, and I'm just thinking of like all those cool fucking set pieces from those games, right? Like the fucking panic room vault that then gets lifted up from the helicopter and shit, or when Max Payne goes through like this little kind of like delusional breakdown and he's running in that house on fire, kids are
Yes.
fucking screaming
With
all
kids
over the
crying,
place.
yeah.
The fucking construction site with Mona Sachs on the fucking sniper. Like, oh, just give it to me. Just fucking inject it straight into my
I don't know if
bloodstream.
I'd say what was weird for me was like with 1 and 2, I loved. I couldn't get enough of. 3, I rented from Blockbuster. I think it was when it. Maybe that was about right. So it must have been Blockbuster. And then, but you couldn't get on with 3 at all. And so now that I hear 1 and 2 remake, I'm like, absolutely, get like that. That is great. I want that. I definitely want that. So yeah. I'm psyched for revisiting all of that stuff.
See,
in glorious modern gen.
The reason I liked 3, and it's one of the reasons why I could be potentially more excited for a remake of 1 and 2, is that I think that in the intervening years between 2001 and 2003 when these two came out, and 2012 when Max Payne 3 came out, linear, and especially linear narrative-driven third-person action games changed so much. Where you think about, the advent of cover-based third-person shooters, and the Gears of War revolution that happened around 2006, which itself caused its own sort of like spiral of changes to third-person action games. I thought to make a narrative-driven game like that in 2012 that sort of had such a again, it wasn't for everyone, and I know I just kind of like jabbed at it a minute ago, but I did genuinely like and vibe with like that sort of the presentation style it went for everything to be so seamless, for everything to be so cinematic, to have such like a strong cohesive vision that led you through this linear game in a way that always felt so natural as it chained up all these different locations, and the constant first person narration that sort of accompanied everything. And the way it balanced these sort of like these big dramatic shifts from flashbacks to Hoboken and Max when he's still a cop and run-ins with Jersey Shore style sons of gangsters and mobsters,
Guidos,
literally Guidos, to flashing forward to him losing his head, giving up pills and whiskey, shaving all his hair off and going into the favelas to try and right his wrongs. Like, I just loved every moment of that journey. And I also just thought that was where Rockstar took the sophistication of their third-person shooter model that had really lagged behind through the GTA series to another level. And a lot of what works so well about, and again, don't get me wrong, the games that came afterwards, whether it's GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2, not flawless in terms of their shooting mechanics, but the way they improved, like even just things like the way their aiming and lock-on system works, the way they implement ragdoll and physics-based reactions to their shooting, like everything was measured and perfected in Max Payne. And it had that thing where like every single individual bullet was sort of had its own physics, and like you would get the things where you get the last kill of someone in the room and it would cut the camera and go slow-mo, and you could slow time down manually as watch bullets like rip through people with entry and exit wounds and blood spurts. And I just fucking loved Max Payne 3 in a way that made Max Payne 1 and 2 seem older than they actually are.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think my problem with Max Payne 3 was that I was still caught up on Max Payne 1 and 2 and maybe wasn't.
It was too different from what you wanted.
Yes, but which is a problem of like nostalgia with games, because actually just because a game's moved on doesn't necessarily make it bad. You've almost got to put that aside and enjoy the new thing, which maybe that was at the time. Maybe I wasn't ready for it, Jamie. Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe. I mean, I replayed it last year and I enjoyed it still. So
okay.
I kind of feel like Max Payne 3 is one of those YouTube games, right? Where like people will make a fucking 50-minute video essay on like why Max Payne 3 is actually a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Authored by Full Fat Jamie.
Do you know what? I tell you what I did do. One of my problems with Max Payne 3 was during my migration from mainly PC gaming, Max Payne 1 and 2, I played on PC, to playing console, and I was crap with a controller with aiming. And one of the things that I didn't like around that time was I struggled with any game where you had like trying to use the sticks to aim, because I was all PC gaming had been my thing of choice, and it's so much better to aim on a PC with mouse and keyboard. So I do think that probably made a difference as well, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure. You can play it on PC now for what it's worth if you're interested in picking it up on Steam or whatever. I don't know how good the keyboard and mouse support is, but it's there.
It's there.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say, and I'll float this out there to get your two thoughts on it, because I know I kind of mentioned it in passing when we chatted about the news as it dropped, was to put it kind of in a nutshell, whether or not this is actually the best use of Remedy's time and tech and expertise. And don't get me wrong, like I know that Alan Wake 2 is in the works. I know that we presume there'll be some kind of a follow-up to Control at some point. Like a lot of these things have kind of been hinted at or straight up confirmed in different capacities. But is there any part of you guys that thinks that like this is a little bit sort of like, I don't know, nostalgia baity and actually not that progressive in terms of like both whether it's the Northlight engine or just what Remedy are capable of bringing to the industry to get caught up on this for the next couple of years?
I think there's two ways of looking at it, and I think I kind of lean on the one way more than the other. It's almost like the Alex Jones way, but I'll talk about it quickly. The one way is to say that it's maybe an easier project for them to take on because the story is there. Yes, it's a remake rather than a remaster, but like the lines are so blurred in terms of like what is what. Okay, they're not going to just take the same engine, upraise the textures, fix the UI, and put it out as a remaster, right? A remake would be like, no, we're building the engine from the ground up, which means that's why they're using the Northlight engine. Fine. They can update the gameplay to modern sensibilities, but for all intents and purposes, they could potentially just keep the story exactly as is, keep the missions exactly as is, some tweaks here and there. So maybe there's that one part of saying like, hey, yes, we'll give it like our full attention and we're not going to phone it in, but it's maybe an easier proposition than building out something new and fresh because half the work is done already, right?
Yeah, but isn't that a negative thing?
Not necessarily when you've got such a great canvas to work from, right? As long as it holds up, right? I mean, that's the other thing.
Well,
no one's going to remake Lemmings because like, fuck it. But the other thing to think about, and this is maybe where I get a little bit more excited about it, is kind of saying like, I mean, Remedy sold the rights to Max Payne, the Rockstar games. They sold it, to the parent company Take-Two, in 2002 for $34 million. Like that's a big chunk of change. And all that's come out of that from Take-Two's perspective and Rockstar's perspective is one fucking game, Max Payne 3. That's a lot of money to pay for an IP that you only use once, okay? And now they're kind of like, there's an agreement between Remedy and Rockstar to get this done. And a part of me kind of thinks that, like, are they testing the waters for Max Payne 4? Even though by all accounts, and a lot of people, whether you like Max Payne 3 or not, there was a general consensus that, like, Max Payne's story is wrapped up and you don't necessarily need to come back to it. But is there,
Right.
is that, is that where they're leading us? Is this the ellipsis? ...
Could be. I don't think it is. I think it stands on its own. I think this is for me, it's like Max Payne 1 and 2 fit really well into the current Remedy stable and feel of what Alan Wake 2 will feel like on the engine, what Control and any future Control like games or whatever they do will feel like on the engine. I think Max Payne 1 and 2 fit perfectly into that slot with remakes.
Yeah.
I don't think obviously remasters would be a horrible different story. But it's weird. Maybe it's the nostalgia thing talking again, but I just can't see how they don't fit really well as full AAA games and just slide right in to anyone's library, of games and feel amazing and feel fantastic.
The argument that I'd offer up there as to how these might not actually feel as amazing as we'd like them to feel is that I think we ended up at a point like a couple of years ago where most people came to a pretty solid agreement and understanding about the difference between a remaster and a remake. But I think in the last couple of years, the umbrella term of remake has itself become a little bit confused because there are things like Final Fantasy VII, which is just like it might as well just be like it's just a completely new game.
Yeah.
Yet there are things like. Like
Resident Evil as well, right? Resident Evil.
Yeah, are they doing that, or are they using the bones, or even just the spine? The backbone of Max Payne.
Is it a Demon's Souls remake, or is it a
right? Like because you get things like Demon's Souls or Diablo 2 Resurrected, or even ... the recent GTA trilogy definitive editions, where it's like, we're going to build this, like, you know what, that was them taking the bones of those games and bringing them into Unreal Engine, a completely new engine, just like Northlight will be, and saying, let's make it look better, let's put better rain physics in there, let's put better lighting in there, but let's still make it those same games, because that's what people want. And do people want that for Max Payne 1 and 2? Like, do you want a Diablo-style situation where you know it's the exact same shit under the hood because that's fundamentally the game you're trying to re-release? Or do you get a Resident Evil and Final Fantasy situation where we're like, you don't want the same game under the hood, trust us, we're making a whole new game that happens to... I don't know. It's tough.
I think the Demon's Souls way I think that's the right way, which is a completely new game under the hood, but one that feels familiar. And down to like where they really care.
That's the thing. Like,
you say it feels familiar. It used the exact same timings on like the attacks.
Well, but that's what I was going to say, right? So it's almost like an idea whereby you could reuse assets, you could reuse code, you could reuse like whatever you like. But with Demon's Souls, they completely rebuilt it. But like you said, they timed everything out so that it would feel exactly the same in certain elements. That is what I kind of hope they do with Max Payne 1 and 2, because when I dive through a door with a sawn-off shotgun, I want it to feel like I remember it feeling in those games. I don't want some weird hybrid, it feels bad but kind of looks similar. It's tricky, right? It's very tricky.
As long as they keep the pitch of the Uzis when you're using them, especially when you're dual wielding them, because they were very high pitched. And then when you went into the slow-mo, it just kind of like when...
You cut off completely for me then with the filter thing.
Discord does not like your gun sound effects.
Well, there you go. No. It probably wasn't very good. My throat's a bit scratchy. Fellas, just to kind of like move on the conversation a little bit. I'm going to do something a little different, okay? And I'm going to refer to our good old friend Twitter, because I got some messages on this, okay? Our very own Bill Caesar, who's now a patron, welcome, Bill, said... If it looks and controls as well as Max Payne 3, then I'll be happy. I think the remakes will alter the story so they fit in with Control and Alan Wake worlds regarding supernatural stuff, which I'm fine with, as it flirted with that stuff anyway. Now that's...
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, in one way, Bill, it is going to look, well, not like Max Payne 3, but better, because Northlight Engine is fucking delicious. But yeah, I really like that kind of thought on, will it be... in the same like Control verse, Alan Wake verse, whatever. Like that's super intriguing to me, and maybe that might give a little bit more of an explanation as to maybe why they're actually doing this, right?
Remedy and Sam Lake definitely seem to love the idea of the Remedy verse, and they're going to do everything in their power to kind of make that a thing. But there is a part of me, and like Bill mentioned himself, like Max Payne 3. I just think that will continue to be this weird odd one out where if Remedy uses this as an opportunity to realign Max Payne 1 and 2 slightly to be a part of a Remedy verse, and then set up, to go back to the point you made earlier, Chris, some kind of a Max Payne 4 or a new Max Payne that was even closer to that, then Max Payne 3 would be this weird sort of like ugly duckling in the middle. Like, how do you acknowledge that it's canon, but you just kind of pretend it didn't happen, or that it was like... It does become a bit messy in a way that I don't know if they're actually thinking that far ahead. But if they are, then more power to them. And I just hope they can pull it off.
Yeah, for sure. There's another comment here from Adam M. Another great topic for the SuperShow. I wonder if they are making these separately or working one at a time. I always wanted another Max Payne, but I always thought 3 ended as well as it could have for him. Hoping they get James McCaffrey back for the voice. I think the voice is like, you don't do it unless you can... get him, right?
I don't think it will be him.
Oh, who do you think?
Come on, it's so obvious. It's going to be known racist Marky Mark.
Can you imagine if they brought him?
Mila Kunis shows up.
Oh
it's
my
God. Be,
God.
But look, at least it wasn't children. At least it wasn't kids.
At least it wasn't kids. Just an old Vietnamese man.
Yep.
At least it wasn't kids.
But yeah.
Can I ask you two a question? Just because... I don't know where the running tally's at now, but you know I'm fascinated by this subject. Does this count as another entry to the long list of games that would have been cool announcements at a press conference or stage show that were announced in a tweet?
Yes.
100%.
There you go.
Like no one is expecting this. It's the Spanish. The Spanish Inquisition. No one was expecting it. It's not even like it didn't even seem like it was on people's radar. And if they managed to keep it under their hat, and a fucking trailer comes out with fucking a Max Payne monologue, are you kidding me?
I was going to say, imagine you were watching a conference, right? Like, and it went, and the screen just went black. The sound of rain starts.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the dark, and then it just goes. What am I supposed to do now? It's been this many years since I've done whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then then everyone starts to suddenly go, hold on. Does that sound like Max Payne? And then suddenly, like the comic book effect, like rain comes in,
man.
and it's like, I look over at Marla, she puts back on her bra.
The piano.
It's like,
dun, 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 dun,
and then you get that. I get tingles in the like when I hear that cheer. You know the cheer that people do in the crowd when they suddenly realise what it is, and you just get that like it's just like group excitement all at the same time. I love that feeling, and they keep taking it away from us by tweeting out. By the way, everyone, we're looking for someone to work on our remakes of Max Payne 1 and 2.
Yeah,
if you know anyone,
it fucking sucks, right? Because by announcing it in this way, it's like you get an endorphin hit and a little bit of a rush, but like it's fucking gone, and like. One of the things when a new trailer gets released or like, premiered, world premiere, you can go back and you can watch it and you can get hyped all over again. Yeah. And years later after the product, like I still go back to the reveal of God of War 2016. Like as such.
Do you really?
I do, yeah. It's quality.
My go-to, it's not a game, but my go-to, if you want to feel that feeling, is go back to when the iPod and like the iPhone were first announced. They are some of the best like announcements. But it's the same deal with like E3, like old E3s where they would like announce sort of crazy games, and you would get like when Spider-Man was announced. That was amazing.
Like say what you will, all right, but the fucking Cyberpunk Keanu Reeves reveal was like
so
what?
Good.
Like
that's both Cyberpunk E3 moments I think were top tier.
Oh yeah, big time.
Right.
But
we'll have to do a list one time. We'll have to do an old school ATG style 6 list of like the 6 best
reveals.
Game reveals.
You fucking nailed it. You've got it right there. That's one we have to make.
I think we'll struggle to narrow it down. Honestly, I think we'll be fighting over that.
That will be tricky.
Part 1,
that will be
fellas.
Tricky.
It's for the patrons, so we can milk it as much as we can.
Okay, I already know what would probably be number 1. With hindsight,
Metroid Prime 4.
No way. With hindsight, I can see why people would complain about it, but you could not deny that when it happened, everyone who was excited. And that, of course, is The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, but
that reveal
the first reveal trailer.
The first reveal trailer.
What was it? The PlayStation Experience or something like that?
I can't remember. It was something like that, but I just remember that.
Was
it not just Ellie sitting on the bed?
Yeah, and saying, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill him
facing away from the camera, playing the guitar.
So that wasn't E3, that was at the PlayStation Experience.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I remember that trailer is because the cheer moment in that trailer, and the reason people knew what it was, is because at the beginning of the trailer, it's shots of like these empty woods, and then there's like a burnt out car, and the camera keeps cutting and pulling back further, and on like the third cut there's a Firefly logo like graffitied on the wall,
right.
And that's when you're like, oh shit. And it cuts to a mysterious figure that we still I guess presume is Joel, but that scene's not in the game, so we never know. But he walked from behind, and he walks up to the door frame, and she's sat on the bed with a guitar,
and he says something like, come on kiddo, or something like that. He says something, and then it's the voice, and then everyone goes, ah. But
yeah. Well, that fucking worked out, fuckers. Yeah. Well, look. Yeah. I will always lament the fact that we just have to accept it. We're just getting announcements via Twitter these days, and little announcements like that games in development. Another one that was recently come out was Crystal Dynamics, stating that they've just started developing the next Tomb Raider using Unreal Engine 4 and using like Unreal's like Unreal Engine, not 4, 5. Unreal Engine 5's kind of like reveal. They tacked onto that, being like, yeah, we're making this game. And then they put out a post saying like, yeah, come work with us on this game that we're making that doesn't exist yet. Like,
Why do they always use Tomb Raider to introduce like a new engine or like they seem to use that as like a graphics demonstration. That's what it has become, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it's because like Tomb Raider at various points in its iterations were kind of like at the forefront of the technology. Like the first Tomb Raider with the pixelated boobs, like that was like cutting edge, like literally, right?
And a T-Rex and a tiger.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at like the Tomb Raider reboot, that was like graphically very impressive. The same with Rise of the Tomb Raider, that was graphically very impressive. That was like, you know, like Xbox One kind of like showcase.
Yeah. And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a bit flat on consoles, but was heavily used by Nvidia for the early RTX stuff.
Yeah, I remember and it's still like it's still a go-to for benchmarking.
Yeah, because I've only ever played Shadow of the Tomb Raider in the context of Nvidia preview events.
Yeah, it's funny.
I never played the finished product. But yeah, like this is weird, especially because like I know it's still Crystal Dynamics, so whatever it is, it's going to be heavily tied to and associated with the trilogy we just mentioned. But when you hear them talk more about it, they make it sound like, okay, that was actually a trilogy. So this could be something completely new, like a new direction for what is still one of the biggest names in gaming. So again, yeah, the idea that it's being talked about again after 4 years, and like it was just a passing mention with no, you know, key art, no like nothing. It literally just name dropped. There's going to be a new Tomb Raider.
Powered by Unreal Engine 5, which looks fucking incredible. Like, undoubtedly.
I watched that stream and it looks very cool. And also just very, not necessarily accessible, but like it's going to enable lots more people to do lots more cool things.
Yeah, yeah.
Or lots more pretty things, if nothing else.
But one thing that
make awful games that look incredible.
You remember that joke we kept making like a few months ago about how we're going to have loads more sort of like, what's that Black Myth Wukong kind of game that
that's.
But we're just
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, we're going to have, and it was the same with DokeV. Like the biggest problem Unreal Engine 5 is going to cause is games that are going to look amazing when their budgets are like $1,000.
Yeah, abandoned.
It's like the Final Fantasy problem with like all the Final Fantasy like 14, 15, all that is that I got lulled into buying them because they look so good, and then you play them, you're like, this is not what I was told it was. It looks amazing, but plays like pretty trash.
Article effects, buddy. But Jamie, to your point of like differentiating this upcoming Tomb Raider to the previous trilogy, they've got a new director for the game. And that's Days Gone director Jeff Ross has joined Crystal Dynamics as a design director.
Yeah.
So, not necessarily the game director. Design director is a very different kind of role, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, the whole sort of like Jeff Ross bend, like fallout around Days Gone was odd, and I'm glad it's over.
Big time odd, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a potential good fit there. Like Days Gone had some elements that you definitely like shouldn't be too afraid to draw from as you make another third-person action game. Just don't make it 60 hours long, really.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Don't make it shit. So.
Yeah, although again, like you talked about Crystal Dynamics, it does leave them in a bit of a weird spot where they're still co-developing Perfect Dark. And do you remember there were those stories like a month or two ago about how they're co-developing Perfect Dark with the Initiative, and there were reports about a month ago that loads and loads and loads of people were leaving the Initiative. Like they'd lost,
and it was
like 50.
being more Crystal Dynamics than anything else. Yeah.
So now it's this weird thing of like Perfect Dark is mostly Crystal Dynamics, and also Tomb Raider is only Crystal Dynamics. So maybe they've just got a lot on their hands, like Remedy do. But
what was the last game that Crystal Dynamics? Like the last big game that they put out.
It's weird.
Surely a massive success.
Whatever it was, we definitely didn't talk about it on this podcast, because if we talked about it on this podcast, even just once, I'd remember it like the back of my hand.
They're never talking about it again either now.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things that will not be named.
Well, there's murmurs that like that shit's carrying on.
Wait, what do you mean like that by that shit? Like that game?
Yeah.
I mean, how many you put like 5 interns on it, say like generate a new outfit for the store every week? Like
I'm trying to think. Chris is right, because I saw, I think it was a tweet about it not too long ago when they were talking about It's just something that made me think it's not dead. And I was
and
genuinely
that's like
surprised.
That's a shock to me. I would have sworn by now we would have had a statement saying like, yeah, servers are shutting down in fucking June, you dickheads. Like, okay, fine, whatever.
It will happen eventually.
Hey, listen.
There was one of those from, was it about Ghost Recon? I thought it was going to be one of those recently that was like everything's closing down, but it was just we've put out the last bit of content, but Ghost Recon we're still going to support it and we're still going to crack on.
Yeah.
Which whenever those things start with, we've put out the last bit of content, I always think it's going to go, give it 6 months and then we're going to kill it. But,
they
haven't done it yet with the game that should not be named, so.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, only a matter of time. What was certainly only a matter of time for some people, and maybe it came not as expected from others, is Ron Gilbert is officially creating a new Monkey Island game. Not only that, he's been working in secret, and not only that, it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
This was like super fucking unexpected. Like as much as Max Payne was unexpected, I think this was like even more unexpected. The news also came out on April Fool's, so
yeah.
But it's real.
I don't think I ever played Monkey Island, if I'm being honest.
Scumbag, get off this fucking podcast.
You're going to hate me as well, then.
Fuck off. It's a one-man show now. You guys shut up. You're muted.
I played the one on PS2. What was it? Like Escape from Monkey Island or something like that? I don't know. Oh,
God, yeah, okay.
That's the only one I've played.
I don't remember.
And I'll be honest, as a result of that, I saw this announcement, and I was like, well, all right. And I put my phone down.
You played the worst one.
Yeah, then I picked my phone up an hour later, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, Monkey Island!" I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people like Monkey Island."
People fucking.
I don't even remember. Let me be really honest. I don't even remember what sort of game Monkey Island was.
It's a point-and-click adventure, Jonesy.
Is it point and click? Okay. Oh, that's weird because that was about the time when that came out. I think that I did like a point-and-click adventure. I don't know why I didn't play Monkey Island.
Yeah, because you played a lot of the
like Broken Sword and.
Roger Wilco.
Yeah.
Dare the Tentacle. I love
exactly. Well, this is
Indiana Jones and the Hunt for Atlantis, is it?
Yeah, exactly. This is a
Sam
Lucasfilms game. Mad Max was like ultimate for me. Lucasfilms Games is involved in this, so they've kind of like, because they own the IP, I guess, and it's kind of like a collaboration between them, Devolver Digital, and what is it fucking called? Ron Gilbert's Terrible Toy Box.
Yeah.
Anytime you say Devolver Digital, it kind of makes me happy because I do think they're I like what they do. I think they're doing good shit. So whenever you attach Devolver Digital to something, it makes me think, okay.
What's nice about this is Dave Grossman, co-writer and programmer of the original Monkey Island, is confirmed to be working on this as well, alongside I don't know if they were the original composers. I think they were. And the original voice artist for Guybrush Threepwood. This is kind of fucking mad.
Yes, and the one thing I'll say about it is that for as much nostalgia as I might be missing for Monkey Island, I can't tell you how happy I am for Monkey Island fans that it's coming back in this way. And
this year, which is like...
And this year, yeah.
But
with the right people on board.
Often, just fucking go on.
I don't know. I'm torn though because the point and click was great. I loved it, but I loved the 2D like point and click.
This is going to be 2D.
It is going to because there was a horrible period where they kind of thought 3D models were good in point and click, and they were not. Yeah. They always horrible.
This is the art style is made by what was that game?
You're gonna have to give us a clue.
No, I got to look this up. You talk amongst yourselves. I got to look this up because it'll shine a light on things for sure.
One system that is great with the point and click games, 2D ones, the Switch. I love a point and click game, or on your phone. But the Switch is.
Did you play that one that came out like a couple of years ago that had like a pixel art style? It was like almost like a murder mystery game that also was made by like another classic point and click adventure developer.
Beneath
the Ghost Hotel thing, or whatever.
Beneath the Steel Sky kind of thing.
No, it wasn't Beneath the Steel Sky. It was. Now we're just coming up with more things that none of us can remember, and we have to start googling, otherwise it will annoy us.
I played one on the Switch, which was like, what is it even called? It was one where it was a.
Thimbleweed Park was the one I was trying.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I played.
There you go. Yeah, I figured that was why I brought it up. Is I had a weird memory in the back of my mind of you playing it. Looking it up now,
Yes.
like obviously Grim Fandango
was cool.
got re-released on some things. The Dark Side Detectives coming up as another one.
Thimbleweed Park was great. Like that was a very cool game. It played really well on Switch. But yeah, there was a ghost in a hotel, and you were the ghost, and you were like the ghost of the dead person who'd been murdered, and you could like fly around and do stuff.
So Thimbleweed Park, it was made by Terrible Toy Box and Ron Gilbert. So it's just them.
Yeah.
That's time is a flat circle.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's a spiritual successor to Maniac Mansion and The Secret of Monkey Island.
Oh,
so
great.
it's basically them. That was
happy.
them. They crowdfunded that for just $375,000, and now I guess they've got Devolver and Lucas back involved, and presumably a bit more money to make an actual Monkey Island. So you might actually enjoy this, Jonesy.
Okay, yeah, no, that this makes me happy. This does make me happy.
Did you find out what the art style was, Chris?
No, I'm just going to Google it.
What were you trying to do before?
I was looking on my phone like through
really
tweets because that's where I initially saw it. So I'm going to have to like Google it.
Oh, I see. There's no clues you can give us. I kind of want to help. I want to turn this into a mystery game.
It was a recent game that was like a very lush, like 2D art style that was like very well received, a game. And basically they got this guy to just do all the artwork.
Okay.
I joined just to make Phil's time while Chris Googles, but I joined a Discord of the company who did the incredible art style for The Last Night. You remember the E3 when they did that like vertical slice?
Yeah. That was cool.
And it was like the best looking like 2D pixel art game we've seen for ages. Basically never coming out. Oh, crazy! My computer's gone mad.
What was that called? The last night.
Last night.
The Last Night.
Because I remember it was confusing because there was that, and then there was another trailer like another show a couple of years later that was weirdly similar, but it was a different game.
Is it like Repent or Repellent or something?
Maybe.
I can't remember. Yeah, there was a very similar looking game, and because then people I think said at the time, have they anything to do with each other? And it was like, no, they're completely separate games, but it was a very similar, very cool like 2.5D pixel art style. It is frustrating when you see a game come out at a game show like The Last Night and you think, oh my goodness, I want to play that. And then you find out that was not a game. That was a video built for E3 to show something off.
It's a bit annoying. I have found the games that you would know hopefully know the artist or the art style from. It's the guy who did Knights and Bikes, or alternatively, Tearaway on the PS Vita.
Oh, okay. Weird that like there's nothing about Tearaway that screams Monkey Island to me, but
it's more the art style, right? Like this kind of like hand drawn, weird, high saturation, colorful kind of art style. It looks cool. Like from the trailer, like I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you get what art style will be.
Yeah. The trailer gave me weird almost gave me like Guacamole vibes for some reason from some of the characters and like the weird like glow and
there is a vibe of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Well, I shall wait and see how this pans out, and maybe Chris, this could be my first proper Monkey Island experience outside of Escape, which everyone knows is the only real Monkey Island game worth playing. It's the reason I played it. I was 7 years old and I was that enlightened. I knew I'd just pick up this one. It's the only one I need to play.
Wow. There we go. Okay. Fair. You know what? Fair enough. Because you know what I'm going to say? At least it wasn't kids. So
at least it wasn't kids. That's got to be that's like a tailor-made code word, right? For the episode.
I think so. Because indeed, we're at the end of the Super Show, fellas. Not like the Super Show.
Yeah.
Just like this Super Show.
Sounded ominous.
Right? Very ominous. But yes, if you've made it this far, all two of you, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform of your choice, we've been the Super Show. You've been great. And at least it wasn't kids.
Way.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.